At least 9 Indian soldiers were injured, about 22 Chinese soldiers were injured. Now we actually know why, there is that, why those, what exactly happened once the clash began. The clash lasted for about 25 to 30 minutes is what we're told, Nabila. But the numbers, the Chinese that had come there in numbers did not expect that they would be outnumbered by an Indian side, which was actually preempting their arrival. The Indian side had pre-deployed, they had advanced intelligence about the possibility of such an intrusion and an attack by the Chinese side from that particular post in Yangtze. So they had pre-deployed on certain ridge lines, and when the Chinese came in, they were attacked almost immediately. There was verbal abuse initially between the two sides, which quickly escalated into stone pelting, and then there were fisticuffs. A lot of hand-to-hand combat between both sides, which lasted for quite a while. But the interesting, piece of information that we are now breaking is that the Chinese side was completely overwhelmed. This was nothing like Galwan. In fact, this was just the opposite. The Chinese side was completely overwhelmed. I'm talking overwhelmed in terms of numbers, and they were practically chased back. It soon dawned on them that there was no possibility of them remaining in that area and, maybe possibly even living to tell the tale. And they were literally chased back towards their side. Remember, there's no demarcated line there, so we need to be careful to say their side, our side, because this is one area which is disputed. But the fact that they were chased back towards their post and so under threat was that post and the Chinese soldiers that they actually fired some warning shots with firearms, by the Indian side as well. We need to be careful about the facts as well about where the Indian side was. But Indian troops, I am told by my sources in Arunachal Pradesh, that they were really aggressive. They beat back the Chinese intruders, so much so that they went pretty much across onto their side as well. During the skirmish, the Indian side also, while the Chinese were retreating, they also took hold of 5 or 6 of these Chinese soldiers who were trying to retreat. These were the ones who had indulged in some of that violence and kept them for a couple of hours, and then they were sent back as well. They used loudspeakers. The Indian side went on to the Chinese side. They stood their ground over there. Very, very aggressive. There were at least 2 army regiments. I'm not going to name which units were involved, but they were there. Very aggressive posturing from the Indian side. They used loudspeakers. Both sides used loudspeakers, and they basically sort of communicated with each other in a very hostile, aggressive manner for a couple of hours. And then finally, when things had cooled down just a little bit, the Indian side then cooled things down and then retreated back towards the Indian side and the Indian post. So it was sending out a very, very aggressive warning to the Chinese side through that loudspeaker and by being overwhelmed that do not try such misadventures. We know what you're trying to do, and this is the kind of response you will receive. That's what happened, Nabila.
Shiv, wow. From what we hear, clearly Indian side was mighty prepared, literally chased off the Chinese troops, and we hear warning shots were fired. Would you be able to elaborate for us what exactly do warning shots signify?
The warning shots basically signifies that the Chinese post, felt so vulnerable and was so unnerved by this large number of Indian troops that were, seen to be moving towards them in an aggressive manner, that they fired warning shots, possibly suspecting or possibly feeling threatened by the numbers that they saw. Remember, this is a familiar sight. The Indian side had seen something very similar in Galwan. This time, not in the same kinds of numbers, but it looks like there was a bit of a role reversal this time, Nabila, where the Chinese side was a little smaller, it felt a little vulnerable, and there were much larger, well-prepared numbers of Indians. The difference here, of course, is in both cases, both in Galwan as well as in Yangtze, the treachery, the violation of protocol was by one side, that is the Chinese side. They were trying to create facts on the ground. They were trying to violate the line of actual control. So the warning shots that they fired from their post, their actual military post, was basically to say, don't come any nearer. You're approaching our post, which is not allowed, so don't come any nearer. We are armed and ready for you. So that's a kind of military message that they were sending out to say don't come any nearer. Remember, firearms are not supposed to be used during patrols, but clearly this was something that had escalated. The Chinese had been overwhelmed. They were unnerved by the brute strength, if I can use that phrase, of the Indian response. The Indian side did not wait that's another piece of information that we have here, Nabila, is that the Indian side did not wait for things to escalate beyond a point. The first red line that was crossed, the stone pelting, elicited and triggered an immediate vicious response from the Indian side. And I imagine that's one of the reasons why during the Chinese retreat, the Indian side, sort of bit very hard into that, that situation. They captured some of them. They went on to the Chinese side, possibly, put that Chinese post under threat in some manner. We don't know what distance they were standing at. And that very, very aggressive message was sent out. So it's a very no-nonsense kind of operation. Unfortunately, some Indian soldiers, sustained some minor injuries in the skirmish. One of them, I'm told, has sustained a wrist fracture as well and is being treated in Guwahati. But apart from that, the Indian side definitely sending out a very, very aggressive message about don't mess with us.
Right, and as we know, this information coming to fore here, it's quite blatant. China has downplayed this entire issue, saying that the situation is now stable. That's all they really have to say. And evidently so, as you narrate really how Chinese troops were literally chased back. And when you speak of these warning shots that were fired, does that mean that the Chinese troops were armed? Does this mean that the soldiers along the border areas on both ends are usually armed and don't and refrain from resorting to any kind of weaponry attack?
Nabila, at the military posts themselves, soldiers and troops stationed there are armed. They can carry firearms because ultimately that is a border post. It needs to be armed. Without weapons, it's actually meaningless to have a post. But it is during the patrolling, the actual manned patrols that go out on those patrolling routes, along the line of actual control, those are not supposed to carry firearms. But as we've seen since Galwan, the rules of engagement and the border, peace agreement between India and China has been in tatters. The trust deficit is at an all-time low. Neither side trusts the other not to violate protocols, even though it is only China that has violated the protocols repeatedly, including this time as well. We are told that some of them carried melee weapons this time as well. During the skirmish, we are told some of those weapons were used against the Chinese, during the fisticuffs that took place. So, as far as treachery, as far as violations are concerned, it is only one country that has ever done this. And on your point of China downplaying it, I'm not surprised. I'm actually wondering where Global Times is, where all their journalists and spokespersons are, because we remember the blaring propaganda that took place after Galwan, but I don't think we should be holding our breaths because China is probably looking for a way to tell this story a little better, because as we understand it right now, it's not a story they want to share with their domestic audiences.
Of course, quite an embarrassment there, and clearly a matter that India has really dealt with phenomenally in the last few years. If you could really highlight the kind of infrastructure built up along these friction points post the Galwan incident, Shiv, only so that it's reassuring for us to know that we're prepared, very well prepared to face a troop like the Chinese army.
It's important that you mentioned infrastructure, Nabila, because remember that the entire standoff that took place began in 2020. One of the big, not all, but one of the big trigger points was Indian infrastructure being built. And ever since then, the Chinese side has been relentless in the construction of infrastructure, whether it is radar sites, whether it is, landing grounds, whether it is permanent accommodations for troops, whether it is high altitude hospital facilities. All of these things have been built, on their side of the, of Tibet. And the fact is, China has not slowed down even slightly. They are here to stay. The situation, as far as the standoff between India and China is concerned, has settled into a dangerous status quo, which is not good for India. India today happens to be the only channel that is reporting this story, with a measure of realism and factual information, and not the, embarrassing jingoism and chest thumping of a few other channels, which, are ridiculously low on facts. Because as someone who's covered the military for a long time, I want to emphasize once again, this isn't something that civilians should be chest thumping about. There are families of troops out there. There are families of soldiers and officers out there who are watching India today, who are watching the news, and we will only report this factually. These are brave individuals who are out there simply following orders and choosing to defend the country. Not something we should be chest thumping or being jingoistic about. This is their duty, and we need to respect it by reporting it factually, and we will continue to do that, Nabila.
Right, Shiv, maybe not chest thumping, but we're certainly proud of our brave soldiers that they've literally chased back the Chinese troops, literally who ran for cover at that point. Indian side, the casualties are minimum. We hear there are some reports of some broken limbs coming from the Chinese side, but naturally here, China downplaying this entire incident. Thank you, Shiv, for joining us on that. We're slipping into a short break. We'll be right back with news and updates on the other side. Stay with us.
AIMIM is all set to contest elections. We are being told it will likely be on 13 to 15 seats in North Karnataka for 2023 state assembly elections. Owaisi is likely to visit Hubballi in December, and all these constituencies have a sizable Muslim population that the AIM will want to cash in on. In 2018, AIMIM chosen not to contest elections and extended support to JDS supporting them. Not just AIMIM, even 25 Sri Ram Sene members will now run as independent in the 2023 Karnataka Assembly polls. The 25 members represent areas as diverse as Bengaluru, coastal Karnataka specifically, and even North Karnataka. Karnataka Assembly elections are likely to take place around May 2023. Former BJP politician and mining tycoon Gali Janardhan Reddy is preparing to start his new party ahead of Karnataka elections. According to sources close to Reddy, he has already decided to create the Kalyan Rajya Pragati Paksha party and is going to Delhi to get the party registered. Congress MLA Tanveer Said's close aide and his wife threatened KSRTC officials with a sickle. Shafi and wife rented a space in KSRTC bus stand, didn't pay rent for the space, and up to 1.80 crore rupees is what they had to pay from the last 2 years. Congress MLA's close aide's wife threatened the officials when they went to recover the money. India's one of biggest social media sensations right now is Urfi Javed. She's often making headlines for her sartorial choices, but now may have landed herself in a legal trouble. An FIR has been filed against her for alleged illegal and obscene actions in public place and on social media. On Friday, an application was submitted by lawyer Ali K. Ashraf Khan Deshmukh at Andheri police station in Mumbai. Now, Urfi has hit back at the lawyer, stating, "I'm amazed how people have no problem against those who openly threaten to rape and kill me, but over my clothes." Shortening the attack, she has said, "People have a problem with me because of the clothes that I wear, but not with men who rape and murder." Remember, giving you a background here, the social media influencer has always been on the top of a game in the entertainment world, is one of the favorites of the paparazzi for her unique, quirky fashion.
presented by धूल आए पर घर पे ना टिक पाए।
Good afternoon. You're watching India Today. I'm Nabila Jamal. Our top news on the India-China clashes. We're bringing you every detail. The headlines first. Explosive new facts about Tawang clash. Inside scoop on Indian Army's response. Chinese troops were chased, thrashed and overpowered. Chinese troops completely overwhelmed as the Indian Army was fully prepared. India thwarts Chinese Army's bid to uproot an Indian post in Tawang. Defense Minister says China tried to alter status quo, but India didn't allow the intrusion bid.
PLA ट्रुप्स ने तवांग सेक्टर के यांगसे एरिया में लाइन ऑफ एक्चुअल कंट्रोल पर अतिक्रमण कर स्टेटस को एक तरफा बदलने का प्रयास किया। चाइना के इस प्रयास का हमारी सेना ने दृढ़ता के साथ सामना किया है, अध्यक्ष महोदय।
Massive war words over Tawang clashes. Opposition accuses Modi of secrecy over the clashes. Amit Shah counters, says Congress's ruckus a bid to shield Rajiv Gandhi Trust, which was funded by China.
ये जो राशि चीनी दूतावास से मिली, इसका उपयोग भारत चीन संबंधों के विकास पर शोध करने के लिए ये पैसा दिया गया।
China sets up division-level headquarters along Pangong despite multiple rounds of de-escalation talks with India. After his murder, Modi tirade. Cops arrest Congress Neta Raja Pateria from Madhya Pradesh's Damoh. Ugly fight between Bollywood divas. Actor Nora Fatehi sues Jacqueline. Nora claims she's lost reputation and endorsement deals owing to what Jacqueline Fernandez said. Well, the first visual representation of the likely flashpoint in Yangtze, high-resolution satellite images from the day of the reported clashes. India Today bringing you the latest pictures from the December 9th show on how Indian Army was prepared. These are some of the graphic images that we present to you showing or rather representing the likely flashpoint in the Yangtze region. High-resolution satellite images from the day of the reported clash. Pictures from December 9th show how Indian Army was very well prepared. Now, the Chinese road is quite visible in the high-resolution imagery. The Chinese road very visible with the Indian troops fully prepared. 3 units of the army that were present quite overwhelmed the Chinese troops. They did not expect the might of India. And as they approached the line of actual control and tried to intrude, Indian army was quick to thwart their attempts and literally pushed them back and entered the Chinese side only to show force. This is satellite images showing very clearly how the Chinese, in fact, the road for the Chinese troops that they took towards the line of actual control as they progressed, where the Indian troops were fully prepared in strength. Let me cut across to Ankit Kumar, giving us an understanding on these high-resolution satellite images. Ankit, a quick word from you. these images here fully representing the likely flashpoint along that region in Tawang. Explain to us.
Well, Nabila, these are the first verified piece of visual evidence that tell the story as to what exactly must have happened in that sector at the point zero of the LAC between India and China. What these images show is these images were captured on 9th of December, the day when these classes took place. What these images show is the development of a new ever expanding Chinese military village and a new road that leads from that village toward the LAC. But the big headline that comes from these images is that Tawang was no Galwan. Remember, 2 years back, June 14, 15, 2020, when we brought the first satellite pictures after the Galwan clash, after the brutal hand-to-hand combat, one thing that stood out was how outnumbered Indian armed forces were there back in the eastern Ladakh when the incident happened. Fortunately, and the good thing was yesterday that, that when the report comes and we check the first high-resolution images, we can conclusively establish that at this point of time, Indian armed forces were well prepared. Our infrastructure was even better than what PLA would have hoped. And that's why the kind of news report that we're hearing, that Indian armed forces did not sustain any grave injuries, that the Chinese troops, the intruding PLA troops, were chased away, and that no part of the land that belongs to India, no part of the land which India used to take control of, no part of the land, at least going by these available satellite imagery, has been conceded or has been lost. There is no buffer zone, unlike Eastern Ladakh or Galwan. There is no buffer zone like Pangang So, where there was a no man's land which was created back in 2020. In this case, there are forward posts. Some posts look eye to eye. Some posts are situated within few meters of distance. So what we have seen in this imagery is that over past few years, the road infrastructure has improved, especially in the forward locations. I'm speaking about India. Of course, China has been expanding its infrastructure, but these images show that at least in this region, the intruding PLA troops were in for a big surprise.
Right. Ankit, give us an understanding on the road that we see leading towards the line of actual control there in that region, Yangtze, and the satellite images there very clearly showing the demarcation as well, which the PLA troops have managed to mount. So they've gone all the way thousands of feet at a height, only to with an intention to try and broaden their claimed territory. It was a deliberate intention to create friction there. They knew that they will be meeting with the Indian troops at that point, but yet took that risk. Explain to us that imagery really showing very clearly the Chinese road that leads up to the line of actual control.
Well, there are three important elements in these pictures for our viewers to understand. First is the Chinese village. China, of course, will maintain that it's a civilian village. It's not. It's like many military villages that China has constructed very close to the LAC, which it uses to kind of carry out these kind of operations. So the story starts from development of that military village. That village started to surface on satellite imagery a couple of years back. The imagery that we are showing was taken on 9th of December. What it shows is that that village is still going through upgrades. There are raised grounds, could be used as maybe a heliport or maybe as an underground facility. We don't know that yet. Connecting that village to the LAC is the new wide road. There used to be a kacha road earlier, but this the new wide pakka road, it started showing up in satellite images somewhere in mid 2022, so earlier this year. In the east to the road, there is this prized peak that PLA wants possession of. This peak is what we have been reporting, the 17,000 feet peak, capped with white snow. That is the vantage point that China wants in this region, because that gives an advantage to the PLA troops. They would be able to kind of monitor all the activities that is going towards the Indian side. And precisely what has happened here is that using those military villages, Chinese PLA troops must have tried to intrude towards that high peak, that 17,000 feet peak. And what these images show is that new forward deployment posts were created to thwart the movement of the intruding PLA troops. Nabila?
All right, Ankit, thank you very much for joining us on that. This is the first images right here only on India Today that you see high-resolution images giving you an understanding of that border area. Let me take you through some of the top developments coming in on the India-China clash. Amid the ongoing clash between India and China in the Tawang sector of Arunachal Pradesh, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has made a statement in the parliament. He said that PLA troops encroached upon and tried to alter status quo. He's also added that this situation was tackled by the Indian troops quite effectively and Chinese troops were pushed back in time. Soon after the parliament session started, question hour was adjourned due to opposition's demand that the border clash issue be mentioned before any other matter. Backfiring at the opposition, Home Minister Amit Shah has alleged that the Congress was blocking the question hour due to a discussion that was scheduled on the Rajiv Gandhi Foundation funds. Shah alleges that funds were transferred by Chinese embassy all the way from 2005 to 2007 to that trust. The India-China clash has become a political issue now, hitting out at the centre. The Congress claimed that the reason there was no mention of the clash that took place on December 9th is because the Modi government wanted to finish the Gujarat swearing-in ceremony first. Rajnath Singh held a key meeting along with senior military authorities to discuss clashes between Indian and the Chinese forces along the line of actual control in Arunachal Pradesh. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar, Defence Minister, Chief of Defence Staff Anil Chauhan, all three service chiefs have attended that meeting. Before December 9th clash between India and China along the line of actual control in Tawang, there were multiple occasions where the Indian fighter jets had to be scrambled to respond to Chinese aggression. Reportedly, Chinese drones were flying aggressively into the Indian territory, and the IAF deployed drones as well in response. All right, now Union Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, addressing both houses of the parliament, has said that China tried to change status quo at Arunachal Pradesh's Tawang sector. Rajnath Singh informed the parliament that Chinese troops entered Yangtze area of Tawang in early hours of December 9th, attempted to change status quo there. Defence Minister has added that the Chinese troops were driven back by the timely intervention of the Indian military commanders. He's added that while few soldiers on both sides suffered injuries during the standoff, no Indian soldier was killed or sustained any grievous injuries. Rajnath Singh has further added that the matter was also taken up with China through diplomatic channels. In fact, the Defence Minister had chaired a key meeting right before he entered the parliament. He met with External Affairs Minister, CDS, all three service chiefs, foreign secretaries and defence secretaries before his address in the parliament.
भारतीय सेना ने बहादुरी से पीएलए को हमारी टेरिटरी में अतिक्रमण करने से रोका और उन्हें उनकी पोस्ट पर वापस जाने के लिए मजबूर कर दिया। हमारे किसी भी सैनिक की न तो मृत्यु हुई है और न ही कोई गंभीर रूप से घायल हुआ है। घटना के पश्चात एरिया के लोकल कमांडर ने 11 दिसंबर 2022 को अपने चाइनीज काउंटर पार्ट के साथ स्थापित व्यवस्था के तहत एक फ्लैग मीटिंग की और इस घटना पर चर्चा की। चीनी पक्ष को इस तरह के एक्शंस के लिए मना किया गया और सीमा पर शांति बनाए रखने के लिए कहा गया। हमारी सेनाएं हमारी भौमिक अखंडता को सुरक्षित रखने के लिए पूरी तरह से प्रतिबद्ध हैं और इसके खिलाफ किसी भी प्रयास को रोकने के लिए सदैव तत्पर है हमारी भारत की सेना।
All right, I'm going to cut across to Abhishek Bhalla tracking those developments for us. Abhishek, we know the inside scoop tells us very clearly how Indian forces literally scared away the Chinese troop, chased them back to where they came from. And in fact, at one point, Indian troops have also moved into the Chinese side only to show force and deter them for making an attempt of this nature. Abhishek, a quick word as China downplays this entire incident. What do we know of the Indian Army's might there?
Well, Nabila, what we've been reporting since last evening about the Chinese attempt to take control of an Indian position, dislodge an Indian post, in fact, at a mountain peak, 17,000 at 17,000 feet, that has been confirmed by the defense minister of the country. When he spoke in parliament today, he clearly said that China made an attempt to encroach into Indian territory. They were trying to take control of some places and they were trying to change status quo, is what he said very clearly. And that's why, this clash had taken place. What we also know is that there was a build-up over the last 15-20 days. Yangtze is a disputed area. There are 8 disputed areas when it comes to India and China. But only one of them is completely in Indian control, and which is Yangtze. And this is why the Chinese are often riled up as far as this place is concerned. And over the years, there have been several attempts made. There have been several scuffles in this area, face-offs in this area. But this time, things had turned ugly because the Chinese came with an intent of misadventure. There was an intent to change status quo. They were there in large numbers. What sources have said is that about 300 PLS soldiers had gathered and they were making incursion attempts. When it was thwarted, the reason it could be thwarted was because there has been a big thrust on enhancing India's surveillance capabilities in the eastern sector. In fact, I was in the Tawang sector last year, and the current Indian Army chief, who was then the Eastern Army commander, General Manoj Pandey, had told us that there is an increase in Chinese patrols. There have been instances where integrated forces have been training together. So there were a lot of changes that were seen on the ground. So alarm bells were ringing last year. And what officials are saying is that something like this was bound to happen. Now that a major attempt to change status quo has been thwarted, it would be interesting to see what the next move from the Chinese side would be.
Well, Abhishek, certainly as we see, the Chinese troops have been scared away. They thought lightly of the Indian army, clearly, and which is why they even attempted to try and infringe that border line. The line of actual control, status quo has been maintained, but China constantly trying to alter status quo. All right, cutting across to Gaurav Gogoi, addressing a press conference on the Chinese clashes. Listen.
भारत की जो अखंडता है उसकी सुरक्षा भाजपा सरकार नहीं कर पा रही। कोई ठोस रणनीति नहीं है। समय कहां है? सांप्रदायिक राजनीति और निर्वाचन के अलावा इनके पास समय कहां है देश के बारे में सोचने के लिए? चीन ने एक ऐसा हमारे सामने एक समस्या खड़ी कर दी है। पूरी सरकार और सारे दलों को एक साथ कर एक ठोस हमको एक स्ट्रेटेजी बनाना है, रणनीति बनाना है, लेकिन समय कहां है? आज हमारी चीन के साथ जहां पे हम उनकी बायलैटरल ट्रेड बढ़ती जा रही है। आज विदेश मंत्री जयशंकर जी बोलते हैं कि नहीं, जब तक सीमा पर पहले जैसी अवस्था नहीं रहेगी तो भारत और चीन के रिश्तों के बीच में पहले जैसा वातावरण नहीं होगा। तो बार बार बायलैटरल ट्रेड क्यों बढ़ रहा है? जिस बायलैटरल ट्रेड से चीन को ज्यादा फायदा हो रहा है। तो हमारी इकोनॉमिक स्ट्रेटेजी क्या है? आपने चीन के कुछ ऐप्स को बैन कर दिया, बस जहां पे चीन के कंपनी और इकोनॉमी को इंडिया के इकोनॉमी के साथ ट्रेड करके फायदा हो रहा है। ये इन छोटे छोटे ऐप्स को बैन करके आप किसको डरा रहे हैं? क्या संदेश जा रहा है देश भारत सरकार से कि जब भी चीन हमारे सीमा पर अपनी आंख उठाएगा तो हम उनके 2-3 ऐप्स बंद कर देंगे और उनके साथ पहले जैसा हम ट्रेड करते रहेंगे, जिस ट्रेड के द्वारा अरबपति और सबसे अमीरों जो व्यापारी है उनका फायदा हो रहा है। हमारा कोई फायदा नहीं है इसमें। लेकिन भारत सरकार आज चुप्पी बैठी है। भारत सरकार की डिप्लोमेटिक स्ट्रेटेजी क्या है? दक्षिण आसिया में जहां पर हमारे रिश्ते
All right, as we see politics now that continues to rage over India-China clashes, on December 9th, opposition has fired a fresh salvo at the centre, accusing Prime Minister Modi of delaying this information, basically accusing him of secrecy over the clashes in Tawang. Congress has hit out at the centre, alleging that Modi government did not reveal clashes that happened on December 9th because they waited for the oath-taking ceremony in Gujarat. Union Home Minister Amit Shah has lashed out at the opposition over questioning the foreign funds that was received by Sonia-led Rajiv Gandhi Foundation. In fact, Amit Shah alleges that India missed out on a permanent UN Security Council membership because of Jawaharlal Nehru. Massive ruckus also erupted in the parliament over the Tawang clashes, with opposition now cornering the government, accusing them of hiding facts.
कि राजीव गांधी फाउंडेशन को 2005-6 और 2006-7 के वित्तीय साल में चीनी दूतावास से 1,35 लाख रुपए का अनुदान प्राप्त हुआ था। चूंकि एफसीआरए के कानून और उसकी मर्यादाओं के अनुरूप नहीं था, तो नोटिस देकर पूर्णतया कानूनी प्रक्रिया का अनुपालना करते हुए गृह मंत्रालय ने इसका रजिस्ट्रेशन रद्द किया था। 1962 में जो हजारों हेक्टेयर भूमि भारत की चीन ने हड़प ली, वो शामिल था क्या? और शोध इस पर किया तो रिपोर्ट क्या आई है? नेहरू जी के प्रेम के कारण सुरक्षा परिषद में भारत की स्थायी सदस्यता बलि चढ़ गई। इस विषय को उन्होंने शोध का विषय बनाया था क्या? और अगर बनाया था तो इसका नतीजा क्या हुआ? राजीव गांधी फाउंडेशन के एफसीआरए लाइसेंस रद्द होने का एक दूसरा भी कारण था इस्लामिक रिसर्च फाउंडेशन की, जिसका प्रणेता जाकिर नायक है। जाकिर नायक को पूरा देश जानता है। उनसे भी 7 जुलाई 2011 को 50 लाख रुपया राजीव गांधी फाउंडेशन ने प्राप्त किया था। मैं पूछना चाहता हूं, राजीव गांधी फाउंडेशन के कर्ता धर्ता जो कांग्रेस की फैमिली पार्टी है, उसी के सदस्य हैं, तो आपको ये पैसा जाकिर नायक ने किस मकसद के लिए दिया था? इसकी भी स्पष्टता देश की जनता के सामने होनी चाहिए।
मुंह तोड़ सेना के पीछे क्यों छुप रहे? आप डर रहे हैं चीन का नाम लेने से। आप देश के प्रधानमंत्री, आप सत्ता में हैं। डोकलाम में आपने देश को गलत कहा, डिसएंगेजमेंट कहा, वहाँ चीन बैठा हुआ है। प्रधानमंत्री ने लद्दाख के वक्त कहा था कि ना कोई घुसा है ना घुसा है, चीन घुस के बैठा है। डिसएंगेजमेंट आप करते हैं और उस मुकाम पे पेट्रोलिंग नहीं कर सकते हम पोंगसोंगसू लेक में। इस अरुणाचल प्रदेश में जहाँ पर झगड़ा हुआ है, लड़ाई हुई है, 12-13 हज़ार फीट नीचे से चीन ऊपर आता है, आकर हमारी फौज पे हमला करता है। क्या हो रहा है इस देश में बताइए? कौन सा राष्ट्रवाद है भाजपा का? भारत की प्रधानमंत्री से अपील कर रहे हैं कि आप पॉलिटिकल लीडरशिप दिखाइए इसमें। चीन का नाम लेने से क्यों डरते हैं आप? क्यों डर रहे हैं आप? आपने तो उठकर जाकर मिला था बाली में चीन के लीडर से। अब देखिए क्या हो रहा है हमारे से।
All right, on that note, we're going to slip into a short break. On the other side, it's our entertainment special in the club. Stay with us.
India Today exit poll silences all.
The BJP is set to record history in Gujarat.
Projected total tsunami in Gujarat.
The biggest ever BJP victory in Gujarat.
Only poll calling Congress win in Himachal.
Congress 30 to 40 seats in this election.
Validated, vindicated, victorious. When you are an outlier, it shows. No herd mentality, 100% courage and ability.
Access My India Today group exact poll. So once again.
Strength of conviction proved again.
We have the most accurate pollster with us.
The only pollster picked it absolutely bang on.
The gold standard of getting it right.
Treadmill test, ECGs and EEGs. Well, these aren't the only diagnostic tools available right now to diagnose heart disease. There has been a sea change when it comes to diagnostic tools to identify and detect heart disease. Take a look. Blood test, C-reactive protein, an inflammatory protein where higher levels indicate higher risk of cardiac arrest. Plasma ceramides. Their detection has been linked to plaque buildup in the heart and taken to be a sign of blockage. Brain natriuretic peptides, a hormone often secreted to help ease pressure on a heart when it is experiencing problems pumping. Calcium scoring, which helps determine plaque buildup in the heart. Troponin T, which indicates increased levels of the protein that have been linked to increased risk. While medical science is still exploring the benefits of meditation, there is enough anecdotal evidence to suggest that meditation indeed helps us in managing our stress levels and does wonders as far as the body and our mind is concerned. Take a look at this report. We seriously recommend meditation. The COVID-19 pandemic and the challenges it brought with it has tested man like never before. Stress related to the pandemic, loss of a loved one, loss of livelihood, stay-at-home stress, fear of disease has put the spotlight more than ever on the need to practice mindfulness and meditation.
It's a straight war between the two Bollywood divas. Actor Nora Fatehi has dragged fellow actor Jacqueline Fernandez to the court. Suing Jacqueline for defamation in the 200 crore rupees extortion case, Nora said she's unfairly being dragged into the Sukesh Chandrasekhar con scandal. Contending that her image is being tarnished, Nora alleged she is losing her reputation and endorsement deals because of Jacqueline's alleged statements. Nora also denied taking any gifts from conman Sukesh. Jacqueline's lawyer, however, was quick to rubbish Nora's charges, saying that the remarks were made in court and not publicly to cause harm.
If certain media agencies have quoted what my client has stated before the Honorable Adjudicating Authority, that is at Delhi, that is a written submission made before a particular court or a quasi-judicial official. Now that cannot be dragged out by media agencies and quoted in the public domain, because that is a part and parcel of an argument or a pleading, which is a judicial proceeding.
Jacqueline, while confronting the Enforcement Directorate, had said that she was treated differently in comparison to Nora. The actor claimed that Nora was also conned the same way she was by Sukesh, who is now lodged in Tihar jail. She also urged the probe agency to treat Nora as accused and not the witness in the case. The ED, in its supplementary charge sheet filed in the extortion case against Sukesh in a Delhi High Court, mentioned Jacqueline Fernandez's name as an accused. Bureau Report, India Today.
I'll not say lights, camera, action today, but instead would say load, aim and shoot, as that's what filmmaker S.S. Rajamouli and the team of RRR has been doing ever since their movie hit cinemas in March 2022. Hello and welcome. You're watching our special broadcast. I'm Dipali Patel, and in the next 30 minutes, I'm going to give you a lowdown on everything RRR, the movie which has been making the right noise not just in India but across the globe. That's right. 9 months after roaring at the box office, the period drama starring Ram Charan and Junior NTR has now made India proud by bagging 2 nominations, one for Best Picture in Non-English Language and the second for Best Original Song at the Golden Globes 2023. Joining me on the show today will also be my entertainment editor, Tushar Joshi, who is gonna give us his expertise on these nods. But before that, let's take a look at how this will change the game for RRR and for, of course, Indian cinema. RRR is unstoppable.
పులిని పట్టుకోవాలంటే వేటగాడు కావాలి. ఆ పని చేయగలిగేది ఒక్కడే సార్.
S.S. Rajamouli's magnum opus is roaring loud and how. One award after another, one accolade after another. And now it's Golden Globes.
బ్రిటిష్ ప్రభుత్వానికి ఎదురు తిరిగిన నేరానికి నేను అరెస్ట్ చేస్తున్నాను.
That's right. The nominees for Golden Globes 2023 were announced, and RRR has bagged not just 1 but 2 nominations at the prestigious award ceremony, making India proud.
తొక్కుకుంటూ పోవాలి, ఎదురొచ్చినోడ్ని ఏసుకుంటూ పోవాలి. చాలా ప్రమాదం, ప్రాణాలు పోతాయిరా.
Nomination number 1, Best Motion Picture, Non-English Language. The film has been nominated in the Best Motion Picture in Non-English Language category, from its larger-than-life VFX to storytelling to cinematography. This period drama has been dominating global theatre experience ever since it released.
Praise yourself for Ram. ఈ నక్కల వేట ఎంతసేపు? కుంభస్థలాన్ని బద్దల కొడదాం పదా. Not salsa, not flamenco, my brother. Do you know?
Nomination number 2, Best Original Song, Natu Natu.
పొలం గట్టు దుమ్ములోన పోట్ల గిత్త దూకినట్టు, పొలేరమ్మ జాతరలో పోతరాజు ఊగినట్టు, గిర్రు చెప్పులేసుకొని కర్ర సాము చేసినట్టు, మర్రి సొట్టు నీడలోన కుర్ర గుంపు కూడినట్టు, ఎర్ర జొన్న రొట్టెలోన మిరప దొక్కు కలిపినట్టు. నా పాట చూడు, నా పాట చూడు, నా పాట చూడు, నాటు 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 వీర నాటు.
Natu Natu has been one of the most talked about dance numbers of the year. Visuals of audience members leaving their seat in the theatres and matching steps had circulated online on several occasions. Natu Natu is sung by Rahul Sipliganj and Kala Bhairava, while the lyrics have been penned by M.M. Kiravani. The nominations were announced by the Hollywood Foreign Press Association and were also posted on Golden Globes Awards official Twitter handle, which also congratulated all the nominees. Soon after the nominations were announced, the team of RRR took to social media to share the good news. Their statement read, "We are very grateful that RRR movies made it to the nominations of Golden Globes for Best Picture, Non-English Language and the Best Original Song." Even Alia Bhatt was all hearts about this exciting news. Filmmaker Shekhar Kapoor too took a moment and expressed his views on Golden Globes nominations for RRR. He wrote, and we quote, "The path to the Oscars for RRR becomes clearer. But I still don't get why the Golden Globes hold on to a category called Best Film in a Non-English Language. RRR deserves to be in the Best Film category. Period. Congratulations, SS Rajamouli." Karan Johar also shared his reaction on RRR reaching this milestone. What's more, RRR will be competing with other non-English language films including Korean romantic mystery film Decision to Leave, German anti-war drama All Quiet on the Western Front, historical drama Argentina 1985, and French-Dutch coming-of-age drama Close to bring this prestigious award home. While in the Best Original Song category, RRR will have a face-off with Carolina from Where the Crawdads Sing, Ciao Papa from Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, Hold My Hand from Top Gun Maverick.
బ్రిటిష్ ప్రభుత్వానికి ఎదురు తిరిగిన నేరానికి నేను అరెస్ట్ చేస్తున్నాను.
Meanwhile, the stride of SS Rajamouli's dream project doesn't end here and is all set to roll even louder at the Oscars. The makers are leaving no stone unturned to submit the film as an independent entry for the Academies after Cello Show beat it to become India's official nomination.
ఆనందంగా ఇచ్చేస్తాను బాబాయ్. యుద్ధాన్ని వెతుక్కుంటూ ఆయుధాలు వాటంతటవే వస్తాయి.
The campaign for the same are in full swing, and if you jog your memory, RRR has been submitted for Best Motion Picture category. Nominations have also been submitted for SS Rajamouli for Best Director, while both the main leads, Junior NTR and Ram Charan, are also being pushed to be considered in the running for Best Actor award. Ajay Devgan and Alia Bhatt's name have also been submitted to the nominations in Best Supporting Actor and Actress categories. While Natu Natu has been submitted for Best Original Song, and M.M. Keeravani's name has been sent by the makers for Best Original Score. The film will have a go at Best Original Screenplay, Best Cinematography, Best Production Design, Best Costume Design, Best Sound, Best Film Editing, and Best Makeup and Hairstyling. Made on a whopping budget of rupees 550 crore rupees, the fictional story was based on lives of two Telugu freedom fighters, Alluri Sitaramaraju and Komarama Bhim, played by Ram Charan and Junior NTR respectively. And apart from receiving rave reviews, the film's lifetime collection ended at the humongous sum of over 1,000 crores. With Gyanasha Malik, Entertainment Bureau, India Today. Now, as you all saw how RRR is the only Indian film to make it to the final five. It's also the first big mainstream nomination. Tushar Joshi, who broke the nominations news as soon as they were announced, is with me at the moment. Tushar, you and I both have seen RRR, and we know how important the win at the Golden Globes is for RRR at the moment. Also because it gives us a hint at what Oscars will look like. While I'm rooting for the film, I also think that the song Natu Natu has more potential to win Golden Globes 2023. I want to know from you, Tushar, what are the chances for the win and what are your thoughts about it?
Dipali, before we discuss what are the odds of RRR making it to the Oscar Awards come March, let's first congratulate Team RRR. You know, this was not an easy feat, getting 2 big nominations at the Golden Globe Awards. It's a huge thing. And I think this is an interesting